Good morning. Good morning. What the hell is going on, everybody? Oh, man. I don't do a show yesterday. I feel like I haven't done a show in a year and a half. I miss you guys. Thursday, December 18th, 8 a.m. Lakers basketball finally back tonight. Feels like I haven't done a show in 3 months. And it feels like Lakers haven't played in 6 months. So finally, we can get back to reacting to games. We could get back to doing the daily show as normal. I'll do the post-game show tonight. Looking forward to everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. We got a lot of topics on hand tonight, or this morning. We'll probably have a lot of topics on hand tonight as well after Lakers take on the Utah Jazz. I do have a guest today. Looking forward to having a guest on as well, so we can chop it up a little bit about the Lakers and the NBA. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for helping us get to over 34,000 subscribers on the channel. Phenomenal. Awesome. I appreciate everybody's love on the channel. Thank you for being here on a continuous basis in the morning. Shout out to iHeartRadio Network that's picked up the channel as well, so it's available on the podcast as well. And then, of course, right here on YouTube. This is the foundation, you know? You can't build a home until you pour that concrete for the foundation. This is the concrete. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, let me give everyone a quick rundown of the show. Cheers to everybody. Cup number 2. Woke up a little bit early this morning. I was ready to go. I could have probably gone live at 7 a.m. But why would I do that today when I'm going to go live tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when I'm hanging out with the members? Member show tomorrow, MVP member show coming up tomorrow at 7 a.m. Just a quick reminder there. I'll remind everybody as we get a little bit further into the show. All right, rundown for everybody. What are we talking about today? The hell is Sliwa talking about today? Here's what we got going on today. Black coffee. Out of town for a couple of days, back now, ready to go. Ate everything you could possibly imagine over the last 3-4 days. Jesus, Sliwa, relax. You get out of your comfort zone for 1 second, it's a freaking animal out there, a hyena. All right, here's the rundown of the show. Here's what we got going on for the show today. And we certainly got a lot of topics to hit on. Stars taking some responsibility. I guess JJ Redick and the staff pointing out to Luka, pointing out to LeBron James. Hey, you guys want to play a little bit of defense every once in a while? What is the Stars' responsibility on the defensive side for the Lakers? And does it really mean anything when they say they're going to start paying attention to it? I think it's more of a personnel thing, not exactly the current players that are on the roster, even though it obviously would help if you got your stars who are focusing a little bit more on the defensive side. We'll get into that. NBA Cup banner. I got to be honest with everybody. I mean, this is the topic that I'm most looking forward to have a conversation about today. Because if you've been listening to me, whether it's here on YouTube or you're listening to me when I was on radio, I mean, you're not going to find too many people who were bitching and complaining more about a banner going up at Crypto.com Arena. Then I saw what the Knicks just did. The Knicks were like, no, thank you. We're not putting up the banner. The Knicks, a franchise that hasn't won an NBA championship since 1973, decided we're not putting up a banner, and the freaking Lakers have a banner up next to all these actually other championship banners. All right, we'll get into that. I got to slow down here. I'll have my opinion on that one. Looking forward to talking to other people. Just take it down. It's a very simple solution here. Mark Medina, who's been covering the NBA now, obviously, for a number of years, now covering it for Essentially Sports, does a great job covering the league. See him a lot of times at these Laker games and everything else. He's going to join the show about 10 minutes or so. Dalton Knecht drops 30 in a G League game. Does that mean anything? Does that raise his value? A lot of articles trying to tell me it means a lot. I don't think it means that much. Good for Dalton Knecht. He's got to be able to do it during NBA games. Marcus Smart, I guess there's some interest from the Milwaukee Bucks to try to get Marcus Smart. Any interest in shopping Marcus Smart, or you want to keep Marcus Smart for the remainder of this year? We'll have a conversation about that. Lakers taking on the Jazz. That's coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. No Austin Reeves, no DeAndre Ayton. A couple of gut punches there for the Lakers. It'd be nice to have both of those players. And then, of course, Lauri Markkanen is questionable, so we'll see if he goes. Come on, I'm trying to watch all these stars play. What are you guys doing taking all these stars out of the games? Got a couple articles around the NBA. Another great example of why these 2-minute reports are so stupid. They're so dumb. There's a 2-minute report that came out. Rockets and the Denver Nuggets. And basically the NBA is like, yeah, the referee screwed it up 38 times in the final 2 minutes. Ime Udoka talks about it and gets fined $25,000. So Ime is just telling the truth and he gets fined 25 G's. We'll get into that as well. All right, that's our quick rundown here. It gives everyone an idea what we're going to be doing for the show. Let me look at a couple of the comments here before we get started, and then we will go from there. Can we get Ryan Rollins for Smart and Gabe? That'd be great. Ryan Rollins is a stud, and the Bucks are absolute idiots. Idiots. If they're trading a youngster like that, and I know he's a ball handler. It's another ball handler for the Lakers, but we'll save the Marcus Smart thing here for just a little bit. The most powerful alarm clock is purpose. Build a life worth living, and your passion will wake you up before any alarm. Great stuff there, brother. Phenomenal stuff right there. Let's see here. How much is bad defense on the players versus the coaches? Well, players got a lot of responsibility in that. They got a lot of responsibility. They also got a responsibility to call out the players. And I like that, they did that. There was some responsibility, and they did call out LeBron and Luka, which I'll get into in just a second. Sipping on my coffee at 11 a.m. in New York, enjoying this fine Lakers show. Cheers, brother. Thank you for joining the show. Man, much easier for you to join the show at 11, huh? But much tougher for you to watch games out on the East Coast. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how people are up till, I think it was Bobby Marks that was on the show. And I'm like, wait, you guys are up at tip-off at 11 p.m.? All right, we'll keep rolling here. Let's get the show started. Thank you very much for being here. Like I mentioned, appreciate you guys helping us get to 34,000 subscribers. Okay, the Stars taking responsibility. All right, let's talk about that here real quick. That's going to be my first topic I'm going to get into. It's something that came out yesterday. Luka got a chance. JJ Redick got a chance. A few of these guys were talking yesterday after practice. I was not there. But I'm going to read this article from Dave McMenamin. Here's the title of the article. Luka Doncic taking accountability as Lakers focus on defense. All right, here's what Luka said after practice on Wednesday. Obviously, Lakers got a few days. Their last game was on Sunday against the Phoenix Suns. Almost blow that 20-point lead, but end up winning by 2. Shout out to Dylan Brooks for his technical foul. Shout out to Devin Booker for fouling LeBron. So, by the way, somebody sent me a link. I guess John Boy, who does an awesome job. He does a great job, really predominantly baseball, but he has kind of branched out to some of these others. Somebody sent me a video. I got to watch it. I think it's LeBron. Basically, how he does not get thrown out in the game against the Phoenix Suns, where he's bumping chest to chest with the referee. By the way, I don't have an argument with that. I don't, if that's any other player who's getting thrown out. But the last game that the Lakers played, I'll have to watch that video, so thank you for sending it. The last game that the Lakers played was against Phoenix. They end up winning that game, 2-point win, 18-7 on the season. So Lakers have had a few days to kind of go through practice and kind of start gearing up here, get ready. All right, now you've had the NBA Cup is over. You've had a couple of kind of odd breaks during the season. Now we could get back to a more traditional regular season schedule. So Lakers got a game tonight. They got a game Saturday. They'll certainly start cranking out some more games here. Here's what Luka said, specifically for him about his defense. And a lot of people know right now, yes, the Lakers are 18-7. They're sitting in a pretty good spot in the Western Conference, number 3. However, they're ranked 20th in the league in defensive rating. They're 23rd in opponents' fast break points allowed. And then this one, an offensive stat here that's also just important to know, 28th in opponents' 3-point percentage. Actually, I'm sorry. That is a defensive stat as well in opponents' 3-point percentage. So a lot of this article is around the Lakers and their lack of defense. If you guys have listened to me in this show, we spent a lot of time talking about it, as many people have. It's no secret here. I'm not breaking news when I say that, the Lakers don't play defense. And in order to make a real run in the Western Conference, obviously everybody understands you got to be a good defensive. You don't have to be the best. I mean, of course, the better you are on the defensive side, I think the better shot you have of winning an NBA championship. And that's what teams like the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and there's some teams out there that they're going to hang their hat on the defensive side and go try to make a real run. But for the Lakers, we know that that's not possible with the current personnel. Here's what Luka said, talking about practice after Wednesday and specifically on the defensive side. He said it was good. We talked about a lot, not just that, the defense, but he was right. You got to get a little bit more, especially from the star players. So that's on us. That's on me. And we just got to give more, especially at the start of the game. We got to start the game better. So he's kind of throwing himself under the bus in regards to the Stars and how they're playing defense. Okay, here's another thing he says. I think in Phoenix, we did a pretty good job. The plan was focused on ourselves and defensive mentality. So I think we did a pretty good job. So here's the conversation that, I think is important to have. Look, I'm not undervaluing, and I've seen a lot of people during the post-game show say, Luka doesn't play a lick of defense. LeBron's not even getting back on the other side of the floor. I don't have an argument for that. I mean, obviously, if you're a team that's already struggling with your personnel to have really good defenders on a night in, night out basis, and then all of a sudden you got your stars or one or two players that are not given the type of effort that they need to and are just like, well, I'll go back on the other side and try to drop 30 or 35, and that's going to be the Lakers' blueprint. Well, I don't need to break news to everybody. You're not getting past that second round if that's going to be the game plan. If you're trying to outscore teams 130 to 125, once you start playing, whether it's San Antonio, Houston, Denver, Oklahoma City, any of these teams, it's going to be tough to win 4 games against these teams if you're not playing any consistent defense. So I do like that Luka's taking some responsibility, says it starts with us. Us, the stars, have to kind of set the tone. I'm not telling you that that's not going to help. I'm not telling you that that's not a good thing. But what I am telling you is if you think the Lakers defense is going to turn around because Luka's going to all of a sudden become an on-ball defender and LeBron at 40, about to be 41, is going to turn back the clock and be the LeBron James of 2016, then I think the Lakers are, they're depending on something that's just not realistic. With that in mind, sure, there are obviously some things that can help in regards to your star players taking more responsibility on the defensive side. Of course it does. And I'm not here to argue that by any stretch of the imagination. But nobody's going to depend on Luka and LeBron getting stops at this stage of their career. Or in Luka's perspective, he's just never going to be the defender that you need him to be. And neither is Austin Reeves. Now, I know Reeves, we didn't get a chance to hear from, and a lot of people that talk about breaking up Luka and Austin Reeves, it has more to do with how is that backcourt on the defensive side going to truly compete for an NBA championship? So those are fair conversations. But I think the bigger topic in this all, what is Pelinka going to do to address the defensive problems that the Lakers have? And I think last season when the Lakers put this team together and they trade for Luka Doncic, and there goes 2 unbelievably phenomenal defensive players, one of the best in the NBA in Anthony Davis, and then a really, really nice defender, a young defender in Max Christie. We knew that the Lakers were kind of trying to piece things together the rest of the way. It didn't happen. They did everything that they could. They didn't have enough size. They didn't have enough defense. Lakers eliminated in the first round. In the summer, he got a chance to start addressing some of that stuff and did what he could with some of the resources, and obviously keeping in mind contracts and how far the Lakers want to keep the books open for 2027, the flexibility. I know you guys hear that word all the time and are probably annoyed with it, but I don't think the Lakers have an answer to the problem that they have, and it's going to be based on, well, guys like Luka, AR, and LeBron are really going to start cracking down on the defensive side. I think, we all know that that's not realistic to an extent. I'm not saying it can't help, but I'm saying that that's not going to be the difference. But where the difference can be, and this is the conversation we've been having now for the last couple of weeks, and it will continue to be had until the NBA trade deadline, which I think is on February 6th. What kind of additional personnel can you bring in to help Luka and to help LeBron and to help Austin Reeves? That's going to be the biggest question. And I think as we all kind of sit here today and that conversation continues to be had and we start kind of exploring and dissecting what the Lakers are and where their weaknesses are and everything else, we've got a pretty good idea of what the team is. They're 25 games in. I think very impressive to be 18-7 when you have a 20th ranked defense in the league. But with all that in mind, I love that Luka's saying, I'm going to take some responsibility. I love that the coaches are calling out the stars. But at the end of the day, it's not going to come from Luka, Austin Reeves, and LeBron, where they all of a sudden go from a 20th ranked defense to 10th because those players tried harder. So I like the concept. I like the idea. But at the end of the day, you got to have personnel that obviously complements that. Okay. I do want to get our guest on, patiently waiting here, ready to go. Always appreciate his time. Let's welcome in Mark Medina. Mark, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Alan, you know the answer. I'm always doing well when I get to link up with you and talk some
Yes.
Lakers.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Well, I appreciate you hanging out. Obviously, always appreciate your time. Mark Medina, everybody knows here, covers the NBA, part of Essentially Sports, has been covering the league for a number of years, also on CBS LA, also on Spectrum Sportsnet. So he's a little bit everywhere. I appreciate the time, brother. I know you were kind of waiting there to come on, and I'm mentioning here a little bit about the Lakers couple, at least from a Luka's perspective, calling himself out. But just what do you make of the Lakers' ceiling when you have a team that is so gifted offensively, that has true star power, that can go out and put up 30, 35, 40 points, but have some glaring weaknesses on the defensive side? What does that kind of, your experience in the NBA, what does that typically mean, big picture?
Yeah, I think as we talk now, mid-December, if things were to stay status quo with the Lakers roster and there's no major injuries in the rest of the Western Conference, I think that their ceiling would be the second round. They get to the second round because Luka Doncic is a brilliant player and LeBron still has a lot left in the tank. Austin Reeves playing all-star caliber level. They have the offensive balance, but to your point, defensively, they need to do a lot of work. And this idea that you said they can improve from within, yes, it can make a difference, but I don't think it's going to make a major difference. Of course, they'd love Luka to give consistent effort. Same thing with Austin Reeves. The Lakers do say that it's been better than it was last season. They also hope that guys like Gabe Vincent and Marcus Smart can be more consistent both with their play and their availability due to injuries. But all those different things we have to suspect is always going to be fluid throughout the rest of this season. So, that leads me to believe that the Lakers are going to try to be active in the trade market, but because of what they have and to what you were saying, they're still trying to value flexibility for this next summer. If they do make a move, it's not a Luka Doncic type trade. It's to address some of their perimeter depth and 3-and-D needs.
Mark, what do you think some of the listen, I know we can simplify this and say, oh, well, it's the Lakers and their goal is always to win an NBA championship. But I want to also be realistic of the short term and the long term. And just thinking about the current position that the Lakers are in, they're not in a bad spot. They're 18-7. I do think they have some very unique flexibility over the next couple of years, and we'll see how much that comes into play. And I'm talking about more what money comes off the books and what they could potentially go do in free agency and everything else. How much do you think the long-term play for the Lakers versus the short-term play, how do you think they're juggling that? And because this is the first time new ownership took over X amount of months ago, this is their first trade deadline as essentially the as new ownership. This will be their first summer in new ownership. I'm just curious, and I know there's no way of predicting this, but how do you think they're trying to juggle the short term trying to win versus sustainable success?
Yeah. Well, sustainable success is interesting because Rob Pelinka, the Lakers general manager, vice president of basketball ops, he often uses this phrase, sustained Laker excellence. And you think, okay, what does that mean? I think what it means is in the short term, they're always calculating, is this move going to dramatically change our championship fortunes? And if it does, they're willing to give up more assets. And, the Luka Doncic trade is a very easy example, but that's also, you know, a very rare example.
Hmm.
The Lakers' sustained excellence for long term means that it doesn't set them back, a few years, or also put them in a position to make major moves the next time teams are going to be making major moves, which is the offseason. So, what does this mean this season? I think, again, short term, Rob Pelinka and the Lakers will go all out and seeing what are the marginal upgrades available, because they're not going to get rid of Luka, obviously. I don't think LeBron's going anywhere. They seem clearly committed to Austin Reeves. So it's all about what are those marginal moves available. But when you're only making marginal players available, you can't really make too much of a difference. I think why this summer it's about having the flexibility. I think they want to keep Austin Reeves and are willing to spend money to make that happen. And we also don't know what LeBron James is going to do with his future. Is this truly his last year, or does he come back on a relative discount or go elsewhere? If this is his last season, obviously that gives them more flexibility on their books to make major moves. I think the other thing, there's a lot of talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo and whether he's out with the Bucks. I think obviously it goes without saying the Lakers would be one of many teams that would make those calls, but because the Bucks, they haven't gotten that direct trade request from Giannis yet, and I don't think they're ready to wrap their head around making that tough decision. It's not going to happen this trade deadline, but if and when it happens this upcoming summer, they're obviously going to want a big haul. So I think when you connect all the dots with that, what it means is Lakers may make a short-term marginal upgrade before the trade deadline and then try to make something major in the summer.
Which, by the way, listen, I think that's responsible. It makes sense to me. Nothing you just said to me right now, I think is, oh, you know what? They're not committed, or you got to go all in right now. No, I'm okay. I think with the game plan of saying, and I think this is the way most sports work. There's a little bit of a timing thing here. Listen, you're closing a chapter on one of the greatest players to ever play the game, that's playing his 8th season with the Lakers, who, by the way, is in his 23rd season in the NBA and is taking up he's got a $52 million contract. All right, that could potentially be all coming to an end by the time this season ends. And what does the franchise look after that? I think the Austin Reeves piece, which, I know a lot of people and a lot of fans are very passionate about giving their opinion on Austin Reeves. And Mark, I don't, when people say, Al, I'm just not sure Luka and Austin Reeves can be in your backcourt together, and then you could put together a championship roster. And if Austin Reeves is making 40 million or something along those lines, I think that's a fair question, right? Like, I don't think that's anybody who's going out of the ordinary when they're listing some of that stuff. But I think based on what we know, the start that the Lakers have had, I think just looking at this team between now and the trade deadline, see if you can find a move that makes sense. Somebody that can be in the Luka window, the Austin Reeves window, somebody that complements what those two players bring to the table, so that it's not just a run this year, but there could potentially be a player there that's right at that right age where it can be with the Lakers and be with those two players for 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think when we're talking about the Austin Reeves fit and his time with Luka, I think the Lakers have been very encouraged with the fact that their chemistry speaks for itself. They coexist just fine offensively with playing off each other, each player being a playmaker, each player being a scorer. Obviously, we've seen the bromance that they have with the playful insults and the banter back and forth. I think what it's about is two things. One, can Austin Reeves sustain this high level of play throughout the season and most importantly in the playoffs? We have seen a relatively small rough patch before his injury. I think the other thing is also, even though they've been more willing defenders, JJ Redick's praised them for being better team defenders. That's not the strength in their game. So how do you find, point of attack defenders, good backcourt guys that can shield those weaknesses to complement them, as well as stagger lineups? But I think when you're looking at, can Austin and Luka play together? Can they share the offensive load together? It's a resounding yes in capital letters.
We got a chance to see Vando get a little PT in that game against the Phoenix Suns, which, by the way, for a regular season game in mid-December, that was fun. That was awesome. And obviously had some great storylines and Dylan Brooks and LeBron, the storylines of Mark Williams, DeAndre Ayton. But one of the other bigger storylines was the Lakers actually had a bench, and players like Jared Vanderbilt got an opportunity. It was really nice to see even guys, go down the list, Jake LaRavia, Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, who's been one of the more consistent players for the Lakers on the bench. But just seeing some of that bench production and specifically Vando, does Vando open kind of a window for himself now to get more opportunities? We started our conversation about the Lakers' lack of defense, and here's a defensive specialist that can't find time on the floor. How do you think JJ Redick starts juggling using Vando, and are there going to be more lineups that you think are a little bit more defensively focused?
Yeah, I mean, JJ Redick has said that recently that he's going to be open to making changes on that and that he envisioned that Vando would get a lot more run. But I think what's telling is that when JJ was asked at a recent practice availability, philosophically, what is he valuing the most? An offensive oriented lineup, defensive oriented lineup, or kind of a mix of both? He made it clear it's a mix of both. So when you're looking at why he went offensive oriented, it's not that he cares more about offense than defense. I think he just concluded that based on matchups as well as the chemistry, that their offensive strengths are much greater than their defensive weaknesses. So just keep riding that out until it doesn't work. We've seen in some games it hasn't worked, hence some of the changes here. And to Jared Vanderbilt's credit, he's been very professional. When he got thrown into the mix, he still made an instant impact right away. I think there was one possession in particular in the Phoenix game that jumped out where he got 2 offensive rebounds in a row in the same possession. I mean, he is a game changer here. But the reason why he wasn't getting that consistent run is, all that work on his outside shot in the offseason wasn't translating the games. It was disrupting the floor spacing. So it's that tough math formula that JJ Redick is weighing in his head. But because it's 82 games and because we've seen these results have ebbs and flows, the rotation will have ebbs and flows moving forward until there are roster changes, if and when before the trade deadline.
Mark, let's stay on JJ Redick for a quick second. I think, last season, his first year, head coach was the Lakers. They end up third place in the Western Conference. Clearly personnel and trying to juggle after that Luka trade. Didn't have enough size. Minnesota handles them in 5 games. This year, listen, if you'd have told me, hey, through the first 25 games of the season, Lakers are 18-7. They're third in the Western Conference. And you don't even have to give me any more details. You just have to I know there's always more details and nuances to any record or story or whatever the case is. A lot of people will kind of wait and say, all right, well, will JJ have learned maybe from some of his mistakes? Was he too stubborn during the playoff run? Whatever the case is. We could look at a lot of the highs, the lows, whatever the case is. As you look at JJ Redick as a Lakers head coach and just kind of seeing what he's able to accomplish almost a year and a half into his NBA career, what do you make? What are some of the areas you love about JJ? What are some areas that you think he's got to improve on as far as a head coach?
Yeah, I mostly love what JJ Redick has brought as a head coach, and clearly the Lakers have as well, hence the extension after only one season with the Lakers. I think obviously his player experience is a plus. He's relatable to every player, star player, rotation player. He has active conversations with guys and is very specific with feedback, but in a constructive and I think encouraging manner when he breaks down, hey, this is what you're doing well. This is what we need more of. Therefore, X, Y, and Z is what we expect moving forward. And here's how we do it. I think the other thing is that he does learn from his mistakes. He's always adaptable with lineup changes. He's always evaluating data. If there is a weakness, I would say that, obviously the emotional swings can get the best of him, but
Mm.
I not 9 times out of 10, I would take those emotional swings over, apathy. But he does need to dial it back just a little bit, only because he would stress himself out over the course of the season. I think the other thing is it can be very effective when you're a young first year head coach, because it shows that you have a lot of enthusiasm, you're pouring yourself into the job. But at some point, that can be wearing on people. But it hasn't ever really been to that point dramatically. Gabe Vincent, I talked with him a few weeks ago about different things of the season. And one thing that jumped out to him in that conversation with him is he noted that with JJ and his coaching staff, he observed that the messaging has been better received this season than last season.
Mm.
And I followed up and asked, "So in what ways?" And he said, well, it's a different group. It's a fresh group. There were so many different lineups at the beginning of the year. And then obviously they make the trade with Luka. There's just a lot of adjustments all the way around. And this season, there's a little bit more of a continuity comfort level with both the staff and the players. And I think the last thing, Alan, when you're talking about the Lakers being third in the West and still having a pretty good record, 18-7, it goes beyond the fact that they have Luka, LeBron, and Austin on the floor. They've all coexisted really well, and they've all made like real relative sacrifices well. Like with those three guys, they play off each other well. LeBron's doing the off-ball role, and then when you're looking at all the rotation players, even though we have specific strengths and weaknesses in their game, they all have been professional with their fluid playing time. And that can be a reflection, I think, of the coaching staff, but as well as just the teammates around them. They all get along pretty well. And so clearly they have work to do. But those two ingredients, the adaptability and the professionalism, I think has gone a long way toward explaining why they're at least still third in the West.
Speaking of the West, let's stay in the Western Conference here for a quick second. So, got a chance to see some fun matchups. You could say more recently, NBA Cup semis. You had the Oklahoma City Thunder. You had the San Antonio Spurs. Lakers got a chance to play the Spurs in the quarterfinals. We saw how great the Spurs looked even without Victor Wembanyama. As you look at the West right now, and we kind of got that surprise matchup, San Antonio over OKC. Looking at the top 4 or 5 teams in the Western Conference, tell me of those teams that you really, really like, some teams that you feel like are maybe on the outside looking in. What do you make of the first 25 games and seeing what Houston, Denver, Lakers, OKC, and San Antonio have put together?
Yeah. That NBA Cup semifinal game aside, I think the Thunder have shown a clear separation between themselves and the rest of the field, not just with their 24-2 record, but their continuity, the fact they're still pretty young. They're not even in their prime yet, and they just keep getting better with Shea having another MVP season. Their perimeter defense is a surplus of riches. And with Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hardenstein, there was times Chet was out, didn't really matter because Isaiah's great, but they also coexist pretty well together. I think the second tier, it's a mix of Spurs, Nuggets, Rockets. I would throw in Lakers there because of their record, because of Luka and their offensive depth, but I do have big picture concerns about their defense. But I think it's really just those 4 teams, or actually 5 teams: Thunder, Nuggets, Spurs, Rockets, Lakers. I don't think anyone outside of those teams really have any shot at all in getting to the NBA Finals. And within those 5 teams, barring major injury, it will be the Thunder. But there's always a recipe for some trade deadline moves. And I think that all those teams, Nuggets, Rockets, Spurs, even Lakers, they can make for a competitive series against the Thunder. That, theoretically anything can happen, but I think if I had to make a prediction, it would be the Thunder getting to the finals and then repeating.
It's funny. I when you say that, and I think you look at a lot of these teams here, I'm just used as an example. Does that make Minnesota say, well, we got to be ultra aggressive at the deadline? Does that make, San Antonio, I think, is in a different spot because I think they're in a great spot because they don't need to go all in for anything. but does it force other teams? Does Houston say to themselves, this is our window right now because of Kevin Durant? Does Golden State try to throw a Hail Mary because of their predicament at Steph Curry's age and everything else? I think, kind of going to what you just mentioned, even if there's just a few handful of teams that should be in the conversation, there's going to be a lot of teams out there as well that are saying, all right, well, we want to at least be in the second tier. We want to at least think we could get to the second round. What is it going to take? And obviously that's going to probably create a lot of action at the trade deadline. And it's also going to potentially add a little bit from an asset perspective, make things a little bit more expensive at the deadline as well. Okay, final one I got for you. And as always, Mark, I appreciate you coming on the show and always enjoy having our conversation. We got a chance to watch the Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Cup Finals. I'll ask you two questions. Number one, just where are you today on the NBA Cup? A couple years ago, was not a fan, was wildly confused, didn't really understand what the hell they were doing. Today, I sit in a much different position. I think it's entertaining. I enjoyed it. I don't think it takes anything away from what the NBA is already doing. I loved the Saturday 2 games, and obviously the standalone game on Tuesday. I'll ask that part first, and then I'll ask, what do you make of the Knicks saying, yeah, we're good on the banner, not going up, knowing that the Lakers have a banner that's up there?
Yeah. First part NBA Cup, I thought first season it was going to be good. Third season, I think it's even better. I think there's a lot of things that they can improve. Some of these courts, are way too shiny, way too bright,
I'm with you on
clouds
that.
the vision.
Yeah.
I think there's a fair conversation to be had. Do you still keep it in Vegas, or do you find other neutral sites because of what's going on in the tourism and economic situation in Vegas? But I think the general idea of having this NBA Cup, it makes, to the casual fan, December games more meaningful. You and I watch a lot of games and
100%.
maybe more games than we should. So we're going to be invested overall. But the general fan, I think, has been more in tune with the NBA right now because these games have been more important. They've been more competitive because of the money stakes with each player on the winning team gained $530,000. So, anything that's even a marginal upgrade is always good. So why not keep it? The second question you have about the Knicks not raising the banner, I think that's just all virtue signaling, performative theater, and James Dolan trying to insert himself into an unnecessary conversation. And here's why I say that.
James Dolan would never do that. He would
exactly.
never do that.
No one has ever pretended that the NBA Cup is more important than the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and the Lakers would be the first to tell you that. But they raised the banner to validate the league and to be good league partners, especially when they're having contract negotiations for the next TV rights deal. So that's all they're doing. They're being good business people, and they're not acting like it's anything more than that. Now, I know that the Lakers got some heat for it. I remember the Lakers and Celtics are playing on Christmas Day. Cedric Maxwell is calling the games, and he's talking all kinds of what to Michael Thompson. I talked with him, and he was saying, "Oh, this is the sign of the Lakers being the fakers, right?" I get it. Yeah, in-season tournament banner. What are you celebrating for? But the Lakers, as you know, when they won the first year, they weren't really dousing each other with champagne. They enjoyed the moment, but they didn't take it for anything more than what it was. So for James Dolan to say and the Knicks to say, I'm not raising it, even though Mike Brown in front of the crowd on national TV saying, hey, this is a huge honor to be able to raise on MSG, and some of the players are buying into it. It just seemed like it was his way of trying to act like he's bigger than all this, when in reality, the Knicks haven't won anything since 1973. So just enjoy the moment. So yeah, that's my spiel on it.
Well, listen, and this is what I would say, and I'm going to end up going on a rant, probably in the opposite direction, but that's okay. I'll tell you. I'll tell you the way I kind of looked at this. Here's my problem with the first year, and maybe this is why the cup rubbed me the wrong way. I felt like it was just being shoved down everybody's throat, and I felt like a lot of the networks, including the NBA, was basically like, hey, you're going to love this. You're going to love, oh, how great is this? How great is this? It was too much of a selling point. And like, I think you know this as well, that anytime you're trying to shove something down somebody's throat, it's actually going to deter them the other way. I wanted this thing, just let it be natural. I understand where the NBA kind of got into a tough situation was probably other than two franchises. If the Lakers or the Celtics won the NBA Cup, that's where the biggest question mark would come in regards to hanging a banner for some of the reasons that you just said. That real estate is very important. Nobody's going to argue that real estate. I mean, it's legendary real estate, and you're hoping that there's a way to pay respect to the NBA Cup, and there's a way to pay respect to winning an NBA Cup championship. But I don't know if it should be in the same neighborhood as where some of those other banners are. And I think I think that's more maybe more of a Laker thing than it is the entire, like the Bucks putting it up. It doesn't do anything for me. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I did kind of find it funny that it was the Knicks that are saying, no, we don't stand for that. You're right. They haven't won a championship since 1973. If there's a franchise to say, throw this thing up, I don't think anybody would question it. I think it was just because of the Lakers and the 17 banners that are already up.
Yeah, it's a really good debate, Alan, and I think that you outlined your position well. And for me, so what you're saying, that it had this feeling the first year that the NBA and all the broadcasts had shoving it down its
It's too
throat.
much.
I
Yeah.
thought in the same realm, James Dolan, the Knicks, they're trying to be contrarian for contrarian's sake and go out of their way to say, hey, we're above this, as opposed to just go through the ceremony. You don't have to make a big deal about it, but don't try to be an example either.
Yeah, the Knicks, not exactly and listen, I'm not taking anything away from the Knicks. I think they got a great shot again to the NBA Finals this year. They have a good chance of, making it a series. We'll see if that happens. Obviously, they've been better the last couple of years. They're relevant again. Got past the Celtics last year and you thought, oh, this is their ticket to the finals, and disappointed by the Pacers. So they're making a case certainly to be a team to reckon with in the Eastern Conference, but not really exactly should they be setting the standard of what the standard is in the NBA. Mark, great stuff, brother. Appreciate the chat about the Lakers, of course, about the NBA, and always appreciate your time on the channel.
Alan, appreciate you likewise. Looking forward to connecting again.
All right, we'll see you soon at a game. That is Mark Medina right there. Okay, so let me say this. And I think there are a lot of angles that we can take here. And I'm not done with the banner talk, because I certainly want to continue to have that conversation. And I'm sure a lot of people want to chime in on that as well. So we're going to do that here in just a second. Before I do, I got to give some love, of course, to one of our partners. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. If you are a family member, I had somebody hit me up yesterday. This is actually a great example. Somebody yesterday hit me up. They hit me up earlier, but I saw the message yesterday. Somebody on Instagram hit me up and was basically like, hey, I got this situation going on. I don't know if Brad can help me. Do you mind making an introduction? I'm like, cool. Send me your email address and I'm going to make an introduction. I'll introduce the listener to Brad Wallace, and the two can have a conversation. And we're going to see if Brad's able to help him or not. That's all really my messaging is. If you are a family member is in a situation, serious injury, wrongful death case, any situation that you're in that involves legal questions, let me put you in touch with Brad Wallace, and we'll find out if Brad can help you. Him and his team can help you. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa is the website you can go to. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. You can go directly to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Fill out this free consultation that you have there at WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. And let him try to guide you. He can help anybody in the state of California. He's one of the best injury attorneys in the business. Maybe he's not out there with all these billboards and everything else. Well, that's not his style. Kind of works a little bit under the radar, a little bit more organic with his messaging, like the messaging that we have here. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. And I'm looking forward to making an introduction with the listener and Brad Wallace and see if they could help each other. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa, WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. All right. Let's talk banner. See what we got here. Okay, here's one here. If I'm Mark Walters, I take down the gimmick banner too. Okay. Let me give just a little bit. Knicks won't get past the Pistons. Might be right, but don't be surprised if the Knicks are in the finals. I mean, I don't think anybody would be shocked. If you're an NBA fan, you're watching the league, Knicks got a good squad. I mean, they have a really, really good team. The question is going to be how far can they go? And they've had a lot of disappointment, obviously, a part of that franchise. Let me get this one in here, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the cup. Slee, Lakers trying to play defense. It's like Slee switching from coffee to tea. It won't last long. Just saying thanks for the show, brother. Phenomenal message right there. You know, I don't know if you guys remember, and I really appreciate the 10 spot, brother. Very, very nice of you. You know, I always say this. No one should ever feel obligated. You shouldn't feel obligated to be a member, even though obviously I'd love as many members as possible. I love the intimate conversations that we can have and do shows together. I'm doing a member show tomorrow at 7 a.m. And no one should feel obligated to send in a super. But when you do, it's wildly appreciated. So thank you very much for doing that for the 10 spot. Last year, I think for Lent, I tried to give up coffee and went to tea. Yeah, that ain't happening anymore. Sticking with coffee. I need coffee in my life. Okay? Not having coffee is bad for business for me. I need that extra jolt. I need that. All right. Can I do it? Sure. I just don't want to do it. And as far as the Lakers playing defense, there is a path for the Lakers to play defense. They just need different personnel. And you also got to have defensive-minded players that are also part of your team. And obviously, Vando is a great example of that, playing basically for the first time in 10 games in the last game. Okay, I want to talk banner here real quick. Okay. So let me give everyone quick context here, because there was an article out there. For those who don't know, Knicks win the NBA Cup, and then and their position on the banner. And then I want to go into, you know, obviously how I feel about that, and we'll go from there. So here's the story that came out. The New York Knicks have decided against hanging a banner at Madison Square Garden for winning the NBA Cup, sources told ESPN Shams Charania. The past two winners, the Lakers and the Bucks, have banners in their respective arenas. The Knicks haven't hung a team banner since winning the Eastern Conference Championship in 1999. So that's the last time that they've done it. Yes, Mike Brown, I think at some point thought they were going to hang up a banner. They're not hanging it up. So the Knicks are kind of taking this approach. I know Jalen Brunson at one point said, I don't think we're having a parade. We're going to enjoy this, but once we leave tomorrow, we're moving on. Basically, the Knicks are saying, cool, nice little tournament. We won it. Awesome. We're not hanging a banner, and we're moving on. All right. Let me tell you some of the things that have bothered me about the NBA Cup in the past, and I think it's kind of rearing its head again. The thing that bothered me, and I mentioned it, if you guys remember the first year especially, the NBA and every freaking network out there that carries the NBA is like, the NBA Cup is the greatest thing in the world. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. You know what? Take another bite. You're going to love this hamburger. This is the greatest burger in the world. It's like, guys, let me just eat my damn burger, and then I'll tell you whether I like it or I don't. And maybe over time, there's some adjustments, that a little bit different seasoning. And you know what? If you add this and you add that, and we're going to get this burger down perfect, but it might take a couple of years. Awesome. Perfect. But the shoving it down your throat is the thing I hated most about the NBA Cup early on. Now, I don't feel like that's there anymore. I don't feel like they're shoving it down. I don't think they're forcing it down your throat anymore. But the other area that really, really kind of threw me off with the NBA Cup, listen, maybe I'm more of, I don't know what the right term is here. Maybe I'm more old school. But I'll tell you a little bit about me growing up and being a Laker fan and watching Lakers basketball. Obviously, the Lakers have a history where you're not hanging banners for, winning a division. You're not hanging banners for winning the Western Conference. And by the way, I don't have any problem with other teams doing that. I mean, not every team is created equally. The Charlotte Hornets should not be following the Lakers approach. The New York Knicks should not be following the Boston Celtics approach. Every franchise has a different, they should do it what they think is best for their city. The Lakers are one of the most successful franchises in all of sports. Go look at the NBA, go look at the NFL, go look at the English Premier League, go look. It doesn't matter what sport. The Lakers are one of the most recognizable brands in all of sports. And by the way, how do you get that recognizable? You're in a big market, you have stars, and you win a shit ton of championships. There's a reason, there's a methodology to the madness. When the Lakers won the NBA Cup the first year, do you know how annoyed I was when I don't care how we got here. I don't care. The Lakers are trying to be good partners. The NBA Cup is, the league is really trying to push it. There's negotiations going on for all that other stuff. When that NBA Cup banner went up, for me, this is one person's opinion, I thought it was the stupidest thing in the world that the Los Angeles Lakers, of all franchises out there, who have 17 NBA championships in franchise history, that an NBA Cup banner was going up in the same real estate that all those other championship banners or all those other championship banners existed. I couldn't stand it. I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. And frankly, I thought it was disrespectful to all the other championship banners out there. Call me old school. I was on radio at the time. Other people are like, Sliwa, what is this? Get off my lawn. Okay, well, that was my position. None of that changed. And then I saw the story of the Knicks saying, nah, we're good. The Knicks are setting the standard? A franchise that hasn't won an NBA championship since 1973. That's the franchise that's saying, nah, we're good. Yeah, we're not putting up a banner there. We don't want our NBA Cup banner to go next to our 1999 Eastern Conference Finals banner. Since when are the New York Knicks making good decisions? Since when are the Knicks setting the standard of, no, that's not good enough for us? For the love of God. The franchise has 17 NBA championships. Go to a game at crypto.com arena, and I've done this a couple of times. And I'm looking here, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, look at all these championships. The 80s Showtime era. Oh, my God. Magic Johnson, Kareem, James Worthy, Byron Scott. Go down the list of all the legends. The Shaq and Kobe days with Phil Jackson as coach. Of course, Pat Riley before that. Guys like Jerry West that have been a part of the franchise. Wilt Chamberlain. Kind of go down the list of all the different players that have been a part of the franchise. You got Shaq and Kobe. Gasol is there. LeBron gets one with Anthony Davis. And there's an NBA Cup banner there. I couldn't stand it. I genuinely, and to this day, anytime I go to a game, you take a quick glance, I'm there. I'm like, how is that with that real estate? You don't go mansion, Del Taco, mansion. You don't do that. No. Del Taco is a couple miles down the street. You can get, the commercial real estate a little bit further down, but let's save this sacred real estate for championships. Maybe I'm taking a more annoying take on this. I just cannot understand how that's on there. I just can't. I can't understand. I can't fathom in my head. Are the Knicks setting the new standard of what the hell a banner should look like or when a banner goes up? Maybe they are. Maybe I'm the crazy one. But I couldn't stand it before. Now that I see the Knicks saying, no, thank you, it bothers me even more that the Lakers have that banner there. I got the solution. The solution is very simple. Take the banner down. Nobody who's a Laker fan is going to be upset that the NBA Cup banner was taken down. By the way, there's a better way to display it. Why don't you take the banner and that NBA Cup trophy and you walk into crypto.com arena? There's a little area right there. It says first inaugural NBA Cup championship, the Los Angeles Lakers. People could take some pictures next to it. I got the solution for it. Nobody else has to worry about it. Instead, we have this freaking banner that's up next to the most prime real estate you can possibly get in the history of sports, which is a championship banner. And then there's an NBA Cup banner for a couple-week tournament. What am I missing here? Am I missing something? The Knicks are setting the standard. What the hell happened in this world where the Knicks are setting the standard? All right, there's my take. Gives you guys an idea how I feel about the banner. All right, let's get one in here. I'm good with them hanging the banner. Teams hang conference final banners. Who knows if maybe one day this couple of bigger deal in years to come. Lakers hanging the first will always be the best. Couldn't disagree more. I do agree that other teams hang banners. Lakers are not other teams. They're one of the most successful franchises in the history of sports. Go see the jerseys that are retired at crypto. They're some of the greatest names to ever play the game. You know what I've heard people argue? Hey, take players that have played for the Lakers versus the rest of the history of the NBA. The Lakers, players that have played for the Lakers will beat teams or will beat players. Take the rest of the league, Michael Jordan, whoever else you want to put on that list, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, the Lakers' history will beat them. Lakers are not like every other franchise. I don't care what other franchises are doing. Lakers have a different standard. And other cities and other teams should have their own standard. If Phoenix gets to the NBA Finals and they want to put up that banner, then they should. I just don't think the Lakers should. I think it's a little bit different. Eli Ford, I appreciate the super brother. Thank you very much for throwing in that super. All right, let me see what we got here. What are people saying? NBA should put up cup statues. NBA needs to eliminate banners. Medals is good enough. Medals is a good idea. I'm in. You see, we found a resolution here. No. Del Taco. This is the difference. There's a space for Del Taco. There's a space. You know where Del Taco doesn't belong? Next to Mastro's. That's my point. My point is, if you got this row of unbelievable restaurants, there's Mastro's, there's Fleming's, there's a top-notch Asian restaurant. You don't throw Del Taco in the middle. That's the NBA Cup banner. That's my point. Okay? Nobody's making a decision between the two. Do I want that ribeye or do I want a chalupa from Taco Bell? It's a different conversation. Let's keep going. A win is a win. Embrace a victory and build on it. Screw that negativity. I don't know if that's about the banner or if it's something else. I have no idea. Slee, if there's an award for winning, I'm hanging a banner. Lakers didn't create the NBA Cup. We just won. Not going anywhere. You're making way too much of it. I respect you have your opinion. I think your opinion is shit. I don't really mean that, but you know where I'm going with that one. I disagree. I completely disagree. But this is, I think, the beauty of the conversation. There's going to be some Laker fans that don't give a flying F. I look at that real estate as in you can't have more important real estate. That's it. What's the pinnacle? The pinnacle of any sports franchise is winning it all. And we threw up an NBA Cup banner. Knicks are starving for a championship. Lakers are full and don't give a damn. There's your explanation, Slee. All right, take it down. Del Taco does have good fries. You know, I don't think I've ever had Del Taco fries. I had In-N-Out fries yesterday. Why does In-N-Out get so much heat for their fries? I think their fries are good. You got to eat them right away, and you got to get them well done. Got to get them a little crispy. I get that. But, yeah, that's what we got here. Del Taco next to Nobu. Perfect. Del Taco next to Nobu. That's it. That's my comment right there. Go to Nobu, and then right after you're like, I'm going to Del Taco. All right, let's keep rolling here. I appreciate you guys, taking in some. I couldn't sleep last night. Last night, I'm like, I can't wait for the show. I'm going to rip into this damn banner. Absolutely going to rip into this damn banner. I agree, displayed elsewhere. By the way, that's all I'm saying. By the way, thank you for being a member for 10 months. I agree that at the end of the day, it's not that there isn't a place for it. That just ain't the place for it. It's not that there isn't a place for a TJ Maxx. Just don't throw TJ Maxx inside of Neiman Marcus. They're just put that one over there. Put that one over there. That's all. That's all we're saying. That's all we're talking about here. What is it? Rodeo Drive. Imagine on Rodeo Drive, there's a Ross dressed for less. You can't put that there. It doesn't belong there. People are like, oh, it's fine. No, it's not fine. Doesn't belong. All right, let's keep moving on here. Dalton Knecht. I got a couple more topics I'm going to get into, and then we're going to move on. Let's take down the banner. That's all I'm saying. I can help. I'm more than happy to help. We'll get a team of us up here. We'll get a nice couple of ladders. We'll take down the banner. No one will even know the difference, and then we'll all kind of move on. All right, let's keep moving on here. I got a couple of things I still want to get into. Jesus, we're already an hour in. That's what happens when you start going on a rant about the banner. Don't get me on banner rants. Do not freaking get me on banner rants. You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose me. All right, I saw this. This happened a couple days ago now. So let me kind of react to it real quick. I had a conversation. What happened to Dalton Knecht? He's going down to the G League. They're trying to get him some more run. Adu Thero also went down, so he wasn't the only one. I'm going to read a couple of these articles out there on Dalton Knecht. So we know that he was going down. I'm not trying to take away from this, but I'm going to do the best I can to explain it. The Lakers had a game taking on the Clippers in a G League game. By the way, I hate that they call it the San Diego Clippers. I really do. I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. It makes San Diego look like a freaking minor league city, even though it's top 8 in the country as far as market size. All right, that's a different story. Knecht led the offense for the Lakers. He scored 30 points, was 10 of 17 from the field, shot 6 of 10 from beyond the arc. People are trying to kind of ask the conversation, hey, he went off in the G League. Does this raise his values? Dalton Knecht, hurry up, bring him down so he could do it with the Lakers. Guys, I just want to, throw this out there. I don't think it's a big deal that Dalton Knecht. I think it's good for him personally because maybe it can help his confidence. But Dalton Knecht dropping 30 in a G League game doesn't all of a sudden raise his trade value. So I think that point is important to mention, that at the end of the day, nobody's looking at Dalton Knecht doing what he did in the G League and then all of a sudden people saying, oh my gosh, every GM out there wants Dalton Knecht. I don't think that's going to happen. What they want to see is Dalton Knecht be productive when he's playing for the Lakers at the highest level. They don't need him to drop 30 for the Lakers with Luka and AR and Bron, but what they need is him to hit threes when he's open. What they need is him to look comfortable. What they need is for him to get to the free throw line, to have some defensive possessions. So nice for Dalton Knecht to do a little bit of work in the G League, but I don't think that that's going to be the biggest angle to take here. And that's it. Everything's going to change. One other thing I want to get to before we get into the NBA news and go from there. NBA insider Jake Fisher reported Tuesday that the Milwaukee Bucks are interested in Marcus Smart, a former defensive player of the year. Here's what Jake Fisher said. Marcus Smart is another defensive-minded guard whom the Bucks have looked at previously, sources say, but it's difficult to see the Lakers making him available, A, after securing Smart on a favorable deal via the buyout market, and B, when they have their own point-of-attack defensive issues. So I'm not really sure what the interest is from the Milwaukee Bucks, but usually you make deals with teams that don't need players. The Lakers are kind of desperate here to have Marcus Smart, so I don't even know why this would even be a conversation, number one. And number two, on top of that, the Lakers got him in the buyout market. They're literally no risk to having Marcus Smart on this team. So I don't see Marcus Smart going anywhere. I don't see the Lakers entertaining a trade for Marcus Smart. What I do see the Lakers doing is trying to add defensive players, not take away defensive players from this roster already. The question that I have more than anything else as I look at this topic, what the Bucks are really starting, they're still trying to go all in here. Who's running the Milwaukee Bucks? Giannis is leaving. I mean, every day that goes by, aren't they just shooting themselves in the foot even more in regards to Giannis's trade value? I know Giannis is still going to bring a haul back, but damn, if you'd have traded him last summer, you'd have got 20 different teams competing because they knew at the worst they can get him for 2 years before he can kind of dictate his own terms because of his player option. So the Bucks it ain't going away. They're all in. They've been all in, and I guess they're going to continue to try to go all in, whether it makes sense or it doesn't. Okay, We're going to preview Lakers and Jazz. Just a couple things to highlight. I got some NBA news to get into, and then we're going to call it a day. Quick shout out here. So Harris Resort SoCal. This is a brand new partnership that started this week. Really, really excited to have them be a part of the show. You know, I know I've emphasized to you guys, it's so important and it's so critical for me to have partners that are a part of the show and a part of the channel. This is my way of kind of taking elements and turning this into a real business, and certainly something that I could build off for years to come and just do something that I love. I love talking NBA. I love talking Lakers. So this is just, it's a perfect fit for me. Having partners like this come in it means the world. Harris Resort SoCal is here. They're here for the rest of the season, and really happy to have them. If you're looking for a getaway, I've stayed at Harris a number of different times. I've got a personal relationship with them. If you're looking for a getaway, some of those staycations that we always talk about, go to harrissocal.com and go look at a place that's within, I think, any part of Southern California they're in. It's probably within an hour to 2 hours. But it truly, truly is a great way to have one of those staycations. They got one of the best restaurants in Southern California, Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, that I've ate at before. They're always putting together some type of events. They always got some type of different, certain events on the calendar that you can look at that Harris SoCal is hosting. But like I said, the most important thing, it's in such a beautiful part of North San Diego. It's a way to get away, and it's a way to do it without spending money on a flight. It's trying to coordinate. Get in your car. You're there within an hour and a half or whatever the case is, depending on what part of SoCal that you're in. And you could really, really enjoy just a great weekend or during the week with your family, or go and go as a couple or whatever the case is. harrissocal.com for your next getaway, harrissocal.com. All right, shout out to them. Okay, let's keep moving here. I got all these comments. People want to weigh in, probably yelling at me for all the banner talk. I don't care. Banner talk means something to me. Banner talk, damn it, means something to me. Lakers taking on the Jazz tonight. 6 p.m. tip-off. Only unfortunate part of this whole game is missing some stars. No DeAndre Ayton for the Lakers. No Austin Reeves for the Lakers. So the Lakers got a little bit of work to do here. They're going to have to do it without 2 starters. So that one's wildly disappointing, but that's where the Lakers are right now. We're still waiting to see, is Lauri Markkanen going to play? And that's going to be a game-time decision. So we'll wait to see if Lauri Markkanen, by the way, averaging 28 points a game. Utah Jazz 10-15 on the season, but they have won 4 of their last 6 games. So they're playing a little better basketball. So keep an eye out for that as the Lakers take on the Jazz tonight. Okay, a couple things in the NBA. Read a couple of comments, and then we're out of here. Ime Udoka fined $25K. You guys remember a couple days ago, I was talking about how I watched, it was on Monday. I did the show on Tuesday. I took yesterday off. I watched Houston go up against the Denver Nuggets. I said the refereeing was bad. Ime Udoka demolished the referees postgame. He said it was the most poorly officiated he's seen in a long time. Well, he was fined $25,000 for it. The NBA came out the next day. The fine comes after the NBA's last 2-minute report revealed that there were 3 incorrect calls in overtime, all of which favored Denver. So let me get this right. Ime Udoka, who's a competitor, is a really good coach in the NBA, watches his team lose in OT, says the refs were awful. And then the 2-minute report comes out and says, yep, the referees missed 3 calls. All of them went Denver's way. So Ime tells the truth. The NBA admits that he tells the truth, that he was right. And then they say, well, we still don't like you criticizing our referees. Here's $25K, take that. Can we stop with the 2-minute report? Who does this benefit when you do the 2-minute report? I mean, to go back and just say, yeah, our referees screwed up 13 calls at the end, who benefits from that? Nobody does. You just make fans even angrier. You make conspiracy theorists even more, yeah, this because of gambling. Just what's the point of the 2-minute report? I don't understand it. Ime Udoka says that the refs were awful. The NBA agrees with him, and then they still give him the fine. Can we stop with the NBA 2-minute report, please? Okay, I'm going to read a couple of comments, then we're out of here. Now, there we go. Take that banner down. It's embarrassing. All right, let's see what we got here. Hayes better step up. They're going to need him. Slee, have you had Howlin' Rays yet? I had Howlin' Rays back when I was on radio. I somehow figured out a way to convince Travis to have the spiciest chicken sandwich that Howlin' Rays sold, and we ate it on air, and I struggled for 2 straight days. I have had Howlin' Rays. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. They got one out here in Pasadena too. The line is like always just around the corner. The place is doing well. All right, let's see what else we have here. Damn, we got our easy games early in the season. You're not wrong about that. But who would have thought Clippers were going to be this bad? Pelicans were going to be this bad? I mean, there are a lot of teams that are bad that I think we thought would be decent this year. All right, Slee, make this the final comment we're going to call today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, a member show. We're going to do a little prep show for the real show at 8. If you're not an MVP member, it's $3 a month. If you're interested, would love to have you as a member. Slee, I hope you're good. I understand your position about the NBA Cup banner, but what the hell are teams doing with the division titles then? Those are much more ridiculous than NBA Cup banners, in my opinion. Brother, I don't disagree. And I'm going to say this again, and I think I have some good examples for it, okay? Certain franchises have a different standard, all right? Making the Sweet 16, Kentucky's probably not putting that banner up. Making the Sweet 16 and, your San Diego State University, put that banner up. That's a great accomplishment. Not every franchise is created equally. If the Sacramento Kings want to put up a banner that the Lakers don't want to put up, well, the two franchises are different. And the standards in Sacramento is going to be different. That's my point. That's all. And an in-season tournament does not belong in the real state where those NBA championships are for the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the only point that I have. All right, that's all I got. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you guys hanging out for the show. Hour and 10 minutes. Shout out to Mark Medina for making some time for us. Thank you again to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Thank you to Harris Resort SoCal. I will see everybody tonight. Tonight, we will do a reaction right after the Laker game is over against the Utah Jazz. We'll do a post-game show here, and I'll be back on tomorrow for the regular show at 8 a.m. and a member show at 7 a.m. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Sending love. Sending my Take Down the Banner love. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I'll see you guys tonight and tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody.